Hello, welcome to Miss Peepers Reading Corner. I'm Katrina, aka Miss Peepers. This is Baroness T'challa von Schnoodle. Let's talk about books. Today's topic is a suspense novel, and it is one about which I have a lot of conflicting feelings. It is Into the Water by Paula Hawkins. Now, Paula Hawkins, you may recognize her name, and it's up on the cover. She wrote The Girl on the Train, which I believe was her debut novel, and it was very well received. I read it a couple of years ago. I remember really enjoying it. And so I took the opportunity to read another one of her books when I came across it. And there's a lot going on in this book, and some of it's good and some of it's not. So let's get into it. First, let me tell you what it's about. And I'd also like to share some content warnings because these are topics that I cannot avoid when I'm talking about the book. As always, please take care of yourself. If there are any topics that you would rather not interact with, totally understand, whether that's avoiding reading this book or watching another one of my videos. I'll see you in the next one. No harm done. Into the Water, as I said, is a suspense novel. It takes place in a small English town that is situated on a river, and there is a bend in the river that the townspeople refer to as the drowning pool. And this is a place where a number of people, mostly women, have died over the centuries. It is a place where witch trials were performed centuries ago, and more recently, to the time period of this book, which is the modern day, there have been 2 deaths in the span of about 6 months, which are both considered to be suicides. So that's your first content warning. This book talks a lot about death by drowning, both murder and also self-harm. So that is a huge content warning. There are a lot of descriptions. There is, well, I do think, well, from my perspective, the author does handle the topic respectfully. There is one character who is very much obsessed with suicide by drowning, and so she romanticizes it. I don't think the author does, but that line can get blurry, especially if that's a challenging topic for the reader, so it's something to be aware of. So we have a number of characters. There are people who live in the village. There are, of course, police officers who are trying to figure out what were the circumstances of these deaths that are so apparently suicide. Of course, there are people who don't believe that that's what happened, that they were murdered. And so throughout this book, we're figuring that out. So another content warning that I do want to call out is rape and the trauma associated with that. There is one character who was raped as a teenager, and now in the present day as an adult, she is still processing that trauma, and she's still working through her own experience and also the way that others have reacted to that happening to her. So that is also a pretty significant storyline within this book, and that attack is described as a flashback, but it is definitely described. So that's another warning there. There's also a plot line about a romantic relationship between a teacher and a teenage student, which is, of course, entirely inappropriate, illegal, unethical, all the things. And it is not handled well by the adults involved in this situation. And part of the purpose of that plotline being in there gets to the way that this community is just not safe. It seems idyllic. It is not safe for anyone. So one of the challenges that I have with this book is the structure. So each chapter has a point of view, a character's point of view, and we switch between multiple characters. And there's nothing wrong with that on its face. However, we are given chapters from the points of view of a total of 11 different characters. And this is not a long book, all things considered. It's under 400 pages, around 350, 360. And that's just so many different characters to keep track of. And I never do this, but I actually took notes. I don't think you can see my writing, but you can see I put Post-it notes in the front here as I was noting not only which characters had points of view in the novel, but also how those characters were related to one another, because there were so many. There's several families, there's several, there are two different time periods, or a couple of different time periods that are covered, and it's just so much information at once. And so to try to jump into this book where we're starting, prologue is always going to be, I don't have a whole lot of expectation from a prologue of really knowing what's going on. It kind of sets the flavor. And then these are short chapters, only a couple of pages each, but we go from one character to another character, back to the first character. Now we've got a third character, and like, it's just, and I'm only on page 20, you know, we've already had 3 POVs. And so some characters you hear from a lot, and others only get 1 or 2 chapters. So it's hard to keep track of. In addition to that, some of the characters are in, some of the chapters are told in the first person and some are in the third person. Now it is consistent, like Jules Abbott is always first person every time you see her. But it is, I could not figure out why some characters were first person and some third, like what those choices were. And that doesn't mean that there wasn't a reason. I just did not understand what it was. And so it made the storyline a little bit confusing to get into and a little bit difficult to just latch onto, okay, who are all of these people? And more importantly, why should I care? Who should I care about? Hi, T'Challa. Who should I care about? Whose story is going to be most relevant? How are these pieces going to fit together? I did find myself forgetting sometimes, like, oh wait, no, that's not the wife, that's the other person's sister. Like, oh wait, they're not married. Those 2 people are married. This is the father, this is the son. Like, it just, I had a lot of trouble with it, hence the note taking, and that actually taking notes helped a lot. So you might be wondering, especially if you watched my video on not finishing books, why'd you finish this book if it was so confusing? I will say the story is really, really good. It's really engaging, I found. Watching these different deaths and the different yes, thank you. Watching the different characters deal with the deaths that have occurred, trying to go through the mystery of, there's an element of mystery. Everything does connect ultimately, or the pieces do connect. There is one plot point, and I won't spoil it because it's like right towards the end. There is one plot point that's never really resolved, one piece of evidence that isn't explained. How this one character got a hold of a particular item that ended up being relevant to one of the deaths, and it just, that was a little weird. And then some of the characters' decisions, I was like, really? That's what you're doing, huh? Okay. And just, you're not going to agree with every single character's choice. But there are definitely some moments where the storyline kind of got a little bit off the rails at times. So would I recommend this book? I think probably not. There are better thrillers. There are better suspense novels. I wouldn't even call this a thriller per se. I think suspense is probably a better term for it. I saw it called a domestic thriller somewhere. Genres are a construct of marketing anyway, but it's definitely one of those stories that I think had a lot more potential than appeared in the execution. I think Paula Hawkins was trying some experimental stuff. Some of it worked, some of it didn't for me. So let me know in the comments, have you read this book? What did you think of it? Or what is your favorite suspense novel? Because I'm always looking for ideas. And either way, I will see you in the next one. So cute. Can I film? Oh my gosh, you're crazy. how I get anything done in this house. I didn't get anything done. I don't get anything done, do I, T'challa? Nope.